Is Trump afraid of China? The 5 reasons why America is hesitating to impose tariffs on Beijing. Imagine. A meeting is underway at the White House in Washington, D.C. A cool breeze is flowing in through the Oval Office window. But inside, the atmosphere is heated. On one side sits US President Donald Trump, a fast talker, someone who calls himself a deal maker, and who always stands on stage claiming he can take on anyone for America. But today, on his desk lies a file. And in those papers are not just numbers, but proof of the strength of a country that is not easy to confront, China. He has already imposed a 25% tariff on India and announced plans to raise it to 50%. But when it comes to China, the Sam Trump, who showed tough love to India, suddenly starts talking about negotiations and extensions. He gives them 90 days, tries to find a middle ground. The question arises, why? Is Trump truly afraid of China? Or are there compulsions behind the scenes that ordinary people can't see? Today, we will discuss this topic in depth. But before that, if you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you get our latest video updates first. So, without any delay, let's begin today's discussion. The first and most critical reason is the rare earth minerals factor. These minerals are rare in name and priceless in use. You might not see them in your home every day, but the heart of your smartphone in your pocket, the computer at your office, the fighter jet flying in the sky, or the high-tech scanner used in hospitals, all beat because of these minerals. And the largest producer and exporter of them is China. The United States, the world's biggest economy, is heavily dependent on China in this regard. A few years ago, this dependency wasn't so obvious. But in 2019, when China decided to use this as a weapon, several major US industries were left gasping for breath. Beijing imposed a ban on the export of 7 rare earth products, a direct signal that if Trump increased pressure, China could strike at his most sensitive point. From the automobile sector to defense, many companies suddenly begin searching for alternative supply sources. But the other major sources of these minerals in the world are very limited. However, the impact wasn't limited to factories alone. Pentagon military planners issued a warning. If China completely stops the supply, some of our weapons programs could be delayed not just for months, but for years. Trump, who considers defense strength part of his personal image, could not ignore this threat. This is why, despite tensions with China, he did not go fully aggressive on this front. The second reason is the hunt for cheap goods. Imposing high tariffs on India means Indian products will become more expensive in the US market. This directly affects the wallets of American consumers, whether it's clothing, machinery, or AT services. Now, the American public needs a cheaper alternative. And the country that provides this most easily is China. If Trump were to impose heavy tariffs on China as well, all the goods coming from there, from furniture to electronics, would become expensive. This would increase public dissatisfaction, create inflationary pressure, and in an election year, turn into a political risk. On the other hand, China wouldn't just sit back. If Trump raised tariffs on Chinese goods, Beijing would retaliate by increasing tariffs on American products. This would impact American farmers, manufacturers, and exporters. Imagine an Iowa farmer who sells soybeans to China suddenly finding that his biggest buyer is now slapping heavy taxes on his goods. In such a case, the farmer's anger could directly affect Trump's voter base. The third reason is the fear of disrupting the global supply chain. The world's economy is no longer what it was 50 years ago, when each country produced according to its own needs. Today, an iPhone is designed in America, but its parts come from Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and China, and it is assembled in China. If a tariff wall is built against China, it will send shockwaves through the entire supply chain, not just in America, but in Europe, Asia, and the rest of the world. For many industries, the shortage of a single component can halt the entire production line. Since the 2008 financial crisis, the world still hasn't fully recovered, and no leader wants to take a step that could create the risk of another recession. Trump knows that if the supply chain is disrupted, it will also affect the US stock market. And for him, keeping the stock market in the green is just as important as his political speeches. This is why showing toughness toward China is easy as a political statement, but implementing it in reality is not so straightforward. The fourth reason is geopolitical equations. China is not just an economic powerhouse, but also an emerging military superpower. Its relationship with the US is not limited to trade alone. China's growing presence in the South China Sea, its claim over Taiwan, allegations of cyber attacks, and its closeness with Russia. All these issues are a matter of concern for American strategists. Trump knows that if he puts too much trade pressure on China, the conflict could spill over into other arenas as well. In addition, China's moves in energy politics also trouble the US. If China strikes major energy deals with Russia, it could weaken America's position in the global energy market. In such a scenario, it becomes necessary for Trump to maintain room for negotiation rather than angering China completely. The fifth reason is technological dependence. Even though the world's biggest tech companies are based in the US, many of their crucial components are made in China. Raw materials for semiconductors, rare elements for batteries, and hardware for artificial intelligence all have China playing a vital role in their supply chain. If Trump were to suddenly impose tariffs and China responded by halting supplies, the American tech industry could be in crisis within months. And this crisis would affect not just the stock market, but also America's global technological edge. Trump's stance may appear as softness from the outside, but in reality, it is a balancing act. On one hand, putting enough pressure on China to keep it at the negotiating table, and on the other, ensuring that the US economy, companies, and consumers do not take a hit. This is why he showed no hesitation in imposing tariffs on India. But by giving China 90 days, he is essentially playing a game of economic
Taught you
chess.
something new. Do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources, news from various news agencies, opinion polls and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.